Whom did you come to marry? Me? Ego gasped in astonishment. Azuka, I had no idea you possessed this side of yourself. It seems you possess a rather mischievous nature. Do you truly believe that offering me meat and these unattractive garments would sway me to become your wife? What are your intentions for my well-being? What strategies do you have in mind to preserve my beauty? Is it your desire to see me in pain? In a time long past, within the captivating eastern region of Nigeria, there existed a lively village called Ezi. The beauty was nothing short of legendary, characterized by lush greenery and vibrant blooms that adorned the landscape with a palette of lively colors. In this grand tapestry of existence, there resided a young girl named Ego, whose beauty was so striking that it ensnared the hearts of all who chanced upon her. Both men and women felt an irresistible urge to look back, completely captivated by her allure. Since her youth, Ego has captured the admiration and reverence of those around her. As she transitioned into her youth, her charm only intensified, captivating admirers from both near and far. Young suitors, captivated by her grace, often approached her father bearing offerings of wine, a customary token expressing their wish to win her hand in marriage. With each occasion, her father would politely refuse these gestures, remarking that she was still quite young. He maintained a steadfast conviction that Ego ought to have the autonomy to navigate her own journey in love, asserting that his daughter's heart should remain untouched by the allure of material offerings, allowing it to pursue its genuine yearnings. He held a firm belief that Ego deserved the autonomy to select her life partner when the moment was appropriate, led solely by her emotions and nothing more. In this way, Ego was nurtured and safeguarded, allowed to envision her future against the picturesque backdrop of Izzy, eagerly anticipating the moment she could shape her own destiny. Ego unfurled into the most luminous maiden Izzy had ever beheld. Her beauty was unparalleled, radiating with the luminosity of the most brilliant stars scattered across the night sky. The village took great pride in showcasing her as their beauty queen at the cultural festivals. She would guide the procession, her elegance and composure enchanting the spectators. In the midst of wrestling competitions that drew the young men of Izzy to neighboring villages, Ego assumed a unique and pivotal role. She donned a stunning, vibrant dress, poised elegantly atop the horse, ready to lead the men with grace. Her radiant smile and stunning appearance were not merely a sight to behold, they were regarded as a good luck charm for the wrestlers. As she rode ahead, her grace and allure transformed her into an emblem of the village's pride and delight. The villagers held a steadfast belief that her mere presence elevated the wrestlers' confidence and bestowed honor upon all of Izzy. In the village, every young man found himself captivated by Ego, each one yearning to capture her heart and claim her as his bride. They bestowed upon her an abundance of gifts, jewelry, exquisite fabrics, and rare delicacies, each offering a reflection of their admiration and longing. Nevertheless, in spite of their sincere and passionate gestures, Ego stood resolute and unyielding. With a blend of grace and resolve, she turned down every gesture of affection. Her standards soared to match her exquisite beauty. In the village, Ego basked in the adoration of the townsfolk, who never missed an opportunity to extol her beauty. This stirred a wave of jealousy among the girls in the village. Their eyes were drawn to the way everyone adored Ego, as the young men showered her with attention. It left them with a sense of exclusion. With each passing day, as Ego basked in an increasing number of compliments and smiles, the envy of the other girls grew ever more intense. As time went on, the accolades began to alter Ego's perception of herself. She started to believe she was superior to those around her, a notion that filled her with pride and bred rudeness. She began to entertain the notion that no young man in the village could possibly be worthy of her hand in marriage. Whenever a man approached her, believing he might be the one to win her heart, she would regard him with a flicker of disdain. "What could you possibly offer me?" she would ask, her tone sharp and dismissive, leaving the young man feeling diminished and insignificant. "Picture this, a beauty queen such as myself becoming your wife," she remarked with a hint of sarcasm, as though the notion itself was utterly absurd. Her words, sharp and unyielding, created a chasm that distanced those around her. This metamorphosis in Ego's demeanor signified a change in the village's perception of her. Once admired for her external allure, she now stirred a blend of emotions as her growing pride began to eclipse the charm that had once captured their affections. As Ego matured, her beauty blossomed, yet her behavior began to evoke fear among the young men of the village. They would approach her, yearning for her affection, hoping she would deem them worthy of marriage, yet Ego only festered, worsening with each passing moment. She no longer offered a mere polite refusal. In response, she began hurling sticks in their direction whenever they approached, unleashing a torrent of hurtful words, and on occasion, she would even threaten to douse them with scalding water if they dared to engage her in conversation. The presence of her aura instilled a palpable fear in the hearts of the young men, rendering them hesitant to even draw near. Ego unmistakably conveyed to all in the village that her expectations soared to great heights. She declared that her thoughts on marriage would only entertain the notion of a partner who possessed not only striking good looks but also considerable wealth. Her conversations were consumed by this singular obsession, as if nothing else held any significance for her. Her expectations loomed so large that no one in the village believed they could ever measure up to her standards. This disposition left Ego in profound solitude. Despite being enveloped by admirers captivated by her beauty, true companionship eluded her grasp. The young men, gripped by fear, hesitated to pursue her affections, while the villagers began to distance themselves, wary of her biting words and stern demeanor. Her parents were deeply concerned about her behavior. They made numerous attempts to engage her in conversation, taking a seat beside her and softly conveying that kindness held greater significance than mere beauty or riches. Yet Ego remained deaf to their pleas. She consistently pursued her desires, indifferent to the opinions of others. This filled her parents with deep sorrow, for they understood that true uniqueness lies in the essence of kindness and a good heart. In due course, not a single man from the village would muster the courage to seek Ego's hand in marriage. All were too apprehensive to draw near her. Yet, Ego's rudeness was merely the surface, her propensity for violence was equally notorious. Yet, there existed a man, a hunter by the name of Azuka, revered as the mightiest warrior in the village. He had long admired Ego from her youth, convinced that he possessed the power to transform her heart and ultimately earn her affection. Azuka, a masterful hunter, would always present Ego with a generous catch of bushmeat whenever he secured a substantial prize. Ego had a deep affection for meat, and she consistently received his offerings with a warm smile. Motivated by this, Azuka started to lavish all his funds on exquisite, high-priced garments, yearning to captivate her even further. In spite of his endeavors, the other young men in the village cautioned Azuka. They warned him to keep his distance from Ego, claiming that she was indifferent to others and held nothing but a fascination for wealth. Yet Azuka, enraptured by love, steadfastly dismissed their words. He was resolute in his quest to ensure that Ego would become his wife, no matter the cost. On a fateful day, Azuka resolved that the moment had come to propose to Ego, seeking to bind their lives in marriage. He brimmed with confidence, buoyed by the gifts and attention he had lavished upon her. Clad in his most elegant attire and bearing a bottle of wine, he brought his uncles along to make a formal proposal to Ego. Upon their arrival, they engaged in conversation with Ego's father, who was filled with joy at the thought of his daughter embarking on the journey of marriage. However, when he summoned Ego to join them, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. "Whom did you come to marry? Is it me?" Ego gasped in astonishment. "Azuka, I had no idea you possessed this side as well. Your wickedness knows no bounds. Do you truly believe that your offering of meat and these unappealing garments would sway me to become your wife? What are your intentions for my well-being? What strategies do you have in mind to preserve my beauty? Is it your desire to see me in pain?" Her fury was palpable, and she issued them a stark warning. "Leave now, or you will regret it," she shouted. They believed she was merely distressed and would eventually find her composure. Yet, in a sudden burst of fury, Ego burst into her hut. As she emerged, wielding a bucket of steaming water, it became clear to them that she was not to be trifled with. Azuka and his uncle swiftly moved on, not lingering in the moment. They fled with all their might, the echoes of Ego's taunts trailing behind them like a haunting refrain. Azuka felt a profound sense of heartbreak. He had genuinely thought he had captured Ego's heart, yet a brutal rejection shattered that illusion. The village buzzed with tales of Ego's antics, the whispers igniting like flames in a dry field. Mothers started to warn their sons about her, claiming that such a girl could never be a suitable wife. In the face of cautionary tales and the mounting discontent of those around her, Ego remained unfazed. Her beauty remained a radiant spectacle, and with it, her pride swelled ever more robustly. She clung to her vision of a life entwined with a wealthy and dashing partner, dismissing the opinions of those around her. As time passed, Ego aged, and her parents' concerns deepened. It was evident that her lofty aspirations were guiding her to a standstill. Today could be the day you find yourself united with a diligent and admirable partner. Who knows, tomorrow he might amass great wealth, her father would say, striving to help her understand the reality of the situation. When I wed your mother, I possessed nothing. Yet here we are today. I wouldn't claim to be wealthy, but I have managed to provide well for you and your mother. The Ego would remain hushed. Engaging with Ego felt akin to conversing with an unyielding stone wall. She just refused to hear a word. Her obstinacy pressed down on her parents' hearts like a heavy burden. They observed the passage of time as their daughter, once the object of admiration, began to confront the repercussions of her decisions, all the while holding out hope for a prince who never arrived. On a bright, sunlit day, the residents of a nearby town known as Oki resolved to host an extravagant festival. All the inhabitants of Ego's village, Easy, received an invitation to partake in the festivities. The inhabitants of Easy requested Ego to assume the role of their beauty queen for the day, guiding the royal entourage straight to the palace of the king of Oki. Ego reveled in this pursuit. It was her moment to reveal her breathtaking beauty, a source of immense pride for her. Amidst the vibrant atmosphere of the festival, Ego thrived, fully embodying her essence. She moved gracefully, her hips undulating as she beamed at all who gazed upon her. She sensed that this was the ideal moment. The festival brimmed with affluent individuals, and Ego mused that this could be her opportunity to encounter a prosperous man who might become her husband. As she twirled, her eyes glimmered with anticipation, yearning to attract the gaze of a certain someone amidst the throng. Ego was truly a vision, and it wasn't long before she captured the attention of a prosperous man from the village, known as Emir. Emir embodied all that Ego had ever envisioned. He stood tall, exuding handsomeness and an air of immense wealth. When Ymir confessed his profound love for Ego and expressed his desire to marry her immediately, she was filled with an overwhelming sense of joy. Her parents, while pleased that Ego had discovered the man of her dreams, harbored a twinge of concern regarding the pace at which events were unfolding. "Please allow us some time to learn more about this man before you proceed with the marriage," they implored. "You are our only child," yet Ego remained resolute, refusing to listen. "Father, Ymir is a commendable individual and a savvy entrepreneur. What else is there to uncover? I wish to wed him without delay." Despite their apprehensions, Ego's Ymir and his family arrived in the village, fulfilled the bride price, and Ego celebrated a grand and beautiful wedding ceremony. The subject of much conversation, it captured the attention of everyone in the community. The air was thick with excitement, and a wave of envy swept through the hearts of many young girls. Ego sensed that she had genuinely seized her dream. Yet, only a few weeks into her marriage, the landscape shifted, and Ego encountered challenges she had never anticipated. Her new life began to reveal itself in unexpected ways, catching her completely off guard. Ymir revealed himself to be a stark contrast to the man Ego believed she had wed. His temper was a tempest, erupting with fury over the slightest provocation, leaving her to endure the storm of his wrath nearly every day. Despite Ymir's wealth and Ego's possession of all that money could procure, happiness eluded her entirely. The most unsettling aspect was the peculiar occurrences unfolding within their abode. Ego found herself ensnared in terrifying nightmares night after night, her screams and shouts echoing through the silence of her slumber. Strange noises echoed throughout the house, sending shivers down her spine and filling her with dread. Upon sharing her thoughts with Ymir, he dismissed them as mere figments of her imagination. Yet, Ego found himself unable to shake the nagging curiosity about the true nature of events unfolding around him. Ymir had cautioned her that communication with her family was no longer an option. She was forbidden from reaching out to them or paying them a visit. Ego found herself ensnared in a web of solitude, tears streaming both day and night, longing for the wisdom of her father's counsel to have resonated within her heart. In the stillness of midnight, Ego stirred from a dreadful nightmare, where shadows pursued her, swirling through her home and emitting unsettling sounds. As she cast her gaze to the side, Ymir was nowhere to be found. Overcome with fear yet driven by an urgent need to locate him, Ego began to scour the house. She recalled a chamber that Ymir had consistently cautioned her against approaching or entering. Her curiosity overwhelmed her, compelling her to open the door. Within the confines of that space, she beheld a sight that caused her heart to freeze in place. On the floor, dead bodies lay in a grim arrangement, while her husband stood nearby, an unsettling and sinister presence. He clutched a calabash, his gaze fixed upon the altar before him. Upon catching sight of this, Ego let out a piercing scream and took off in a frantic dash, while Ymir pursued her relentlessly. Her heart raced, and tremors of fear coursed through her body. She was utterly astonished by what she saw. Her husband dabbled in shadowy rites, and therein lay the origin of his fortune. When Ymir finally confronted Ego, his fury erupted, leading him to strike her relentlessly until she succumbed to unconsciousness. He harbored a significant secret, one he had concealed for countless years. Many speculated about the source of his immense wealth, yet the shadowy reality remained hidden from all. He found himself entangled in terrifying rituals. Despite his substantial contributions to the community and his outward display of generosity, there existed a hidden facet of his character that remained unseen by all. The rationale behind his marriage to Ego was even more chilling. He required her as an offering in the clandestine cult to which he belonged, a step towards amplifying his already formidable power. Having witnessed his actions, Ego was resolute in his decision to ensure she remained by his side. He feared she might reveal to others what she had witnessed. As Ego stirred from her slumber, a wave of fear washed over her, the haunting images of the night lingering in her mind like shadows that refused to fade. She found herself devoid of appetite, a disinterest in food consuming her entirely. It appeared that no avenue for her escape existed. As Ymir observed her every action, lingering nearby like a shadow, Ego came to understand that not everything that sparkles is truly valuable. Each day, she yearned for a miracle to guide her escape from the daunting predicament. In Ego's home village, a palpable sense of worry was beginning to envelop her parents. Months have passed since Ego tied the knot and departed, leaving them in silence, devoid of any word from her. She had not paid them a visit either, which was quite uncharacteristic of her. Concern began to creep in, prompting them to visit her and ensure her well-being. Upon reaching the grand gates of Ymir's sprawling mansion, they found themselves halted. The steadfast security guard informed them that entry was not permitted. He mentioned that his superior, Ymir, had directed him to inform them to return home, as their daughter was doing well. Yet, Ego's parents remained unconvinced by this notion. They expressed their distress and firmly stated, "We want to see our daughter." Realizing their unwavering resolve to meet Ego, the security man adopted a confrontational stance. He began to shove them about and ultimately drove them off the premises. Ego's parents returned home, trembling and filled with an unprecedented sense of worry. They now understood that something was profoundly amiss. Determined and resolute, they understood that they must uncover a means to infiltrate that house and save their daughter from the peril that awaited her. In their desperation, Ego's parents found themselves at a loss, ultimately choosing to turn to the village elders for guidance. They recounted every event that unfolded. Ever since Ego tied the knot, she has vanished from sight and sound, leaving no trace behind. They recounted the harsh treatment they received from Ymir, describing how the gatekeeper had forcefully pushed them away and dressed them in a manner that felt sinister. With fervent hearts, they implored the elders, yearning for the village's aid in their quest to restore Ego. The elders, with keen attention, resolved to summon the young men of the village for their aid. Yet, a complication arose. Upon learning of Ego's predicament, the young men turned their backs, resolute in their refusal to offer assistance. Their memories lingered, vivid and painful, of how Ego had once belittled them before her departure, hurling unkind words that pierced their hearts. They believed that Ego ought to confront the repercussions of her previous choices on her own. This deepened the sorrow of Ego's parents even further. They had sought assistance, yet no one dared to confront Ymir, a figure cloaked in fear and intimidation. Ego's parents found themselves engulfed in solitude and anxiety, searching for support in their desperate endeavor to rescue their daughter. Life within the mansion proved to be a formidable challenge for Ego. The imposing gate that encircled the estate remained perpetually locked, granting her the rare freedom to wander the expansive, desolate grounds only during Ymir's slumber or absence. Within, the walls exuded a chill, and the stillness weighed heavily in the air. Ego found herself ensnared in a web of despair, and as the days slipped by, a fragment of her essence dimmed with each moment. Ymir, her husband, cast a shadow over her bright moments. He was cruel and unfeeling, perpetually addressing her with a sharp and disrespectful tone. He frequently issued threats, ensuring she was acutely aware of the dreadful consequences that awaited her should she ever contemplate escape. "If you dare to flee, I will pursue you and slice you into minuscule fragments," he would declare, his gaze filled with menace. A profound sense of impending doom enveloped Ego. The mansion loomed like a fortress, its high walls and stringent security casting an imposing shadow, yet she understood that escape was imperative. Each day brimmed with trepidation, a haunting uncertainty about what tomorrow might unveil. One afternoon, after she had completed the task of preparing lunch and was certain that Ymir was in a deep slumber, Ego resolved to embrace a moment of daring. With meticulous attention, she arranged the food and presented it to the security guard stationed at the gate. This was her opportunity to forge a connection with him, a potential ally who could provide insights into the world beyond and perhaps illuminate a path to freedom. Ahmed, the vigilant security guard, felt a wave of surprise and delight wash over him as Ego presented the meal with a warm smile. He relished her cooking, for Ego was a masterful chef, and the dishes offered a refreshing departure from his typical meals. Appreciative of her generosity, Ahmed began to feel a connection with her. Ego had taken to the routine of delivering food to Ahmed during Ymir's absences. As time passed, their conversations blossomed, leading them to forge a friendship. One afternoon, amidst their conversation, Ahmed revealed something quite unsettling regarding Ymir. "Olga is a very dangerous man," Ahmed whispered, his voice low and cautious as he scanned the surroundings to ensure they weren't being overheard. "My heart ached upon seeing you. For 8 years, I have collaborated with him, and during that time, he has experienced the bonds of marriage 6 times. You are the 7th in line." Ego's heart quickened as she took in this startling revelation. "What happened to the other 6? She inquired, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I don't know," Ahmed replied, his voice heavy with contemplation. "One moment, they are present, and then, in an instant, they vanish, only for him to soon introduce another wife." A shiver coursed through Ego's spine. It dawned on her that the house bore no trace of the former wives, a revelation that deepened her sense of dread. "Even we, the staff, are not safe," Ahmed continued. "That man possesses a formidable danger, and those beyond his immediate reach remain largely unaware of his true identity. All they perceive are the bountiful contributions he offers. We must not depart from this place. Should you proceed, it may very well spell your demise." Ego clasped her mouth in shock, engulfed by a wave of fear and remorse. She realized she had stumbled into a dire predicament. Yet, with Ahmed by her side, she started to devise her escape, yearning for an opportunity to liberate herself from the haunting reality that her existence had turned into. As Ahmed unveiled his insights about Amin, a chilling realization dawned upon Ego. If she failed to act, she risked disappearing just as the other wives had. Fear coiled around her heart, constricting her breath and leaving her gasping for air. On a day when Amin stepped out of the house for a few hours, Ego resolved to confront her fears and uncover the truth. She entered their bedroom, her eyes scanning every corner in a desperate search for the key to the safe room, a place Amin had adamantly forbidden her to enter. She searched beneath her bed, within the pages of books, behind the furniture, and in every small crevice of the room. The quest appeared endless, yet at last, nestled beneath a creaky floorboard, she uncovered the key. Her hands quivered, and a shiver coursed down her spine. She clung to the hope that Ahmed's words were misguided, that perhaps the reality was not as dire as he had portrayed. With a flutter of anxiety in her chest, she drew closer to the safe room, her fingers trembling as they worked the lock, when suddenly, a sound pierced the silence. Her heart leaped into her throat. Had Emin returned already? In a state of panic, she swiftly concealed herself behind a heavy curtain, her breath shallow, straining to catch any hint of movement. After a few tense minutes, silence enveloping her, she summoned her courage and pushed the door open. The scene that unfolded before her was nothing short of horrifying. In the shadows of the dimly lit room lay 6 lifeless bodies. They stood in a neat row, impeccably intact, and oddly enough, there was no hint of decomposition in the air. Ego struggled to identify any of them. Their appearances had transformed beyond recognition. Yet, deep down, she understood that these were the women who had vanished. Her heart thudded with such intensity that she feared it might explode. She staggered backward, breath hitching in her throat, thoughts swirling in a frantic dance. All that Ahmed had shared with her was indeed true. She needed to devise an escape plan. For a fleeting moment, she entertained the thought of poisoning Emin, yet he had never partaken of the meal she crafted. The scheme was destined for failure. She required a fresh strategy, and quickly, or she risked becoming just another statistic, another soulless figure in Emin's hidden chamber. Overwhelmed by the urgency of the moment, Ego understood that she must take swift action to escape this harrowing ordeal. She required a strategy that would prove effective, something ingenious and swift, for the clock was ticking away. The clock was ticking for Ego. Emin sensed the impending arrival of the sacrifice, and he grew increasingly vigilant, his heart heavy with the dread of what might unfold should she find a way to flee. He issued firm commands to every guard within his expansive estate, ensuring that she would never be allowed to exit the compound. He went so far as to employ a maid whose sole purpose was to monitor Ego's every action throughout the day. With each passing day, Ego found himself increasingly ensnared and powerless. She found herself unable to devise a plan for escape, and with each ticking hour, her anxiety deepened. Olu, the newly appointed maid, possessed a kind and gentle spirit. She shared a harmonious rapport with Ego, who found himself unable to shake off a sense of sympathy for her. Ego pondered the possibility that Olu could also find himself in peril, ensnared by the shadowy secrets concealed within the house. She longed to share her deepest thoughts with Olu, yet a paralyzing fear gripped her. The thought of Olu revealing anything to Emin loomed ominously, threatening to shatter their world. On a tranquil morning, after Emin had departed the house, Olu approached Ego, her expression tinged with concern. "Madam, since I began my tenure here, restful sleep has eluded me," she confessed. "Shadows dance at the edge of my vision, strange noises echo in the stillness, and just last night, a nightmare gripped me with its chilling embrace. I can no longer remain in this place. I long to return to my parents." Ego perceived the trepidation reflected in Olu's gaze, and she understood that her words rang true. In that moment, Ego resolved to embrace uncertainty and place faith in Olu. She leaned closer and whispered, "I have something important to share with you about this house. I find myself contemplating an escape, though the path remains unclear for now. The security in this place is exceptionally stringent, and I find myself unable to carry out my plans against Emir, as he refuses to consume the meals I prepare. Safety eludes us in this place. Collaboration is essential for devising a strategy." Olu absorbed every word, her eyes reflecting a mix of astonishment and worry. The weight of the situation bore down on her, yet the revelation of the truth ignited an even greater resolve within her to assist Ego. United in their resolve, they commenced a fervent brainstorming session, yearning to devise a plan that would liberate them from the mansion's turmoil and shield them from the ominous destiny that loomed ahead. Several days following Ego's heartfelt revelation to Olu, the two found themselves nestled in a serene nook of the mansion's kitchen. Olu glanced around, ensuring their solitude, before leaning in to whisper, "Did Ahmed mention that their lives here are also at risk?" Ego nodded, a tumultuous blend of fear and hope coursing through him. "Indeed," Ego responded gently, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Olu's eyes gleamed with a flicker of resolve. This was promising, for it indicated that we were not alone in our quest for freedom. "An idea has struck me. We must engage everyone in this endeavor. Without their involvement, the prospect of escape will remain unattainable. Instruct Ahmed to converse with the other guards. He must share his scheme for our collective escape, assuring them that once we break free, Emir will be unable to pursue us. All may return to their loved ones and embrace a life of tranquility." Ego's curiosity piqued at the thought of Olu's plan, yet Olu remained guarded, withholding the specifics for the time being. She merely assured them that it was a sound plan and that it would succeed in saving them. All. Ego was engulfed in a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. What if someone inadvertently revealed their scheme to Emir? Though anxiety gnawed at her, she understood that seizing the opportunity was imperative. Burdened by a profound sense of duty, Ego set out in search of Ahmed. Upon hearing her recount Olu's idea, his expression transformed, illuminated by a blend of hope and yearning. After an agonizing separation from his family, the mere thought of reuniting with them ignited within him a fervent longing for liberation. He swiftly comforted Ego, assuring him that the urge to escape this wretched place outweighed the fear of remaining. "Many of us yearn for an escape." That night, shrouded in shadows, Ahmed summoned all the guards to the most secluded corner of the garden. The atmosphere crackled with unease, as every man cast wary glances, anxious that their words might drift into unintended ears. Once he was confident that they were in solitude, Ahmed revealed the escape plan. The guards paid close attention, their expressions revealing a blend of trepidation and exhilaration. A weariness settled over them, a fatigue born from the mansion's oppressive and peculiar ambience, igniting a deep yearning for the liberation to reunite with their families. They were filled with anticipation, yearning for further details, and clinging to the hope that this plan might finally provide them with an escape. Emil's suspicions had grown, and he found himself confined within the walls of his home for several days. A palpable tension enveloped everyone within the mansion. Soft murmurs of anxiety drifted through the group, each member haunted by the possibility that, perhaps, Emil had unearthed their clandestine scheme. After what seemed an eternity to Ego, Emil at last departed from the house. On that morning, the entire household convened in secrecy within the concealed chamber of the grand mansion. With a heart full of anticipation, Ego revealed all she had discovered regarding Emil's sinister actions. The atmosphere, thick with astonishment and disbelief, held its breath as her words took root. They all recognized the urgency of their departure, knowing they must act swiftly before the moment slipped away. Olu, despite his youth, advanced with assurance, armed with a strategy. She instructed everyone to pack their belongings quietly. "Once Emil arrives and makes himself comfortable, we will begin to discreetly extract our belongings. Ensure that you gather only what you are able to bear. As the clock strikes midnight and Emil finds himself lost in thought within his hidden sanctuary, we shall set the house ablaze. The flames will ensnare him, and amidst the turmoil, we shall slip away quietly, liberated from this haunting ordeal." The gathering erupted into a gentle applause, captivated by Olu's courage and sharp wit. Driven by a blend of trepidation and optimism, they scattered from the gathering and started to gather their belongings. They advanced with swift stealth, mindful of the need to avoid drawing any attention. When Emil finally made his way back, everything was in place. Emil came back, oblivious to the insurrection simmering beneath his very roof. As the clock chimed midnight, Emil slipped away into his hidden chamber, and Ego signaled his intentions. The sentinels, privy to the scheme, took their positions, poised to either protect or retreat, contingent upon the events that would transpire. The gate swung open, creating an unobstructed passage beyond. After ensuring that all had safely departed, they ignited the mansion in flames. Fires rapidly consumed the structure, creating an ethereal darkness that contrasted sharply with the starlit heavens. Within the confines of the space, Emil remained unaware until the final instant arrived. By the moment he perceived the looming threat, the mansion had already been engulfed in flames. His desperate screams for assistance echoed into the void, only to be swallowed by an oppressive silence. Abandoned in his moment of need, he confronted the searing destiny that awaited him, solitary and unassisted. As the mansion succumbed to flames, the group stood at a safe distance, their hearts racing with a tumultuous mix of relief and dread. Having eluded the grasp of a tyrant, they watched as the flames consumed their lingering fears. Turning away from the inferno, they embraced the promise of a fresh beginning, liberated at last to greet the dawn with renewed hope, aware that they had triumphed over the darkest night of their existence. Ego's parents could scarcely comprehend the sight before them as they beheld their daughter approaching their home the following morning. They hurried outside, tears cascading down their cheeks, and enveloped her in a fervent embrace. After nearly resigning themselves to the possibility of never seeing their daughter again, the wave of relief and joy that washed over them upon her return was nothing short of overwhelming. The reunion was profoundly emotional, overflowing with both tears and smiles. After the initial chaos subsided, they gathered in the living room, finding solace in each other's company. With tears glistening in her eyes, Ego started to unveil the depths of her struggles. As her parents absorbed the harrowing tale of her time in the mansion, their shock deepened. The pain and fear their daughter endured was beyond their wildest imagination. Burdened by the shadows of her past, Ego sank to her knees before her parents, her voice trembling with deep emotion. She expressed her regret for failing to heed their counsel. The trial she endured imparted a stern lesson on the value of heeding and honoring the insights of those who held her welfare at heart. Resolved to seek redemption and evolve from her experiences, Ego concluded that her next course of action would be to extend her apologies to all the young men in the village whom she had wronged. She came to understand the profound impact her words and actions could have on others, and she felt a strong desire to amend her mistakes. Ego vowed to herself to serve as a positive role model for the younger girls. She intended to unveil her narrative to them, not solely to caution against the perils of pride and the folly of dismissing counsel, but also to impart the lessons of resilience and redemption that arise from acknowledging one's errors and embracing transformation. Dear friends, we have reached the conclusion of our tale, and I sincerely hope you found joy in it as much as I found in crafting it. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section, allowing us to learn and exchange our insights together. In the meantime, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel and find joy in my stories, I encourage you to click that subscribe button and activate the notification bell, ensuring you're alerted whenever new tales are shared. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for your love, support, kindness, and everything you do. Your significance in my life is immeasurable. At this moment, I must depart and await our next tale, but remember, my affection for you is boundless and profound. Farewell.